All right, so this is my transition. I'm gonna change out of these shoes and I'm gonna change into these shoes. I do not wear these shoes all the time for running, but at the moment I have a little bit of a tweak in the calf. And so these guys give me a little bit of propulsion forward. And so I'm gonna be wearing these guys today. I think these are the Nike Alpha Fly or whatever the hell they're called. I always forget the name of them. But anyway, carbon fiber foot plate. So it's got some real, see how hard it is to bend it? It's got some real crazy spring to it and some crazy cushioning and this and that. Now, you guys have heard me talking so much about shoes and barefoot shoes and proper footwear and all that. And then you're like, oh man, he's just throwing it all away by throwing this on to run. Keep in mind, when I run for about 30 to 45 minutes usually. I am running multiple times a week, so my foot is getting jammed into here. So you could say, hey, I still think that's bad. But I'm utilizing this as a training device and a training tool. It feels like to me that I literally run faster and run a little bit better when I'm wearing these. Better as in it has less of a negative impact on me later on. Yesterday I ran for an hour and 20 minutes wearing these guys. I wore something very similar to this when I did my half marathon. Didn't have any problems in the ankles or the calves or anything like that. But these are the Inyang barefoot 5-fingered shoes, Vibrams. And these are absolutely incredible. This is actually, I think this one, I'd have to rank this one up there as being probably my favorite shoe for running. Now this is more so when I want to run and I want to get my toes some good training. And this one in particular, this one I believe is their hiking, one of their hiking shoes. That's why it has kind of a, this is actually a lot of material on the bottom in comparison to what this company normally has on the bottom. So if I want to train my foot more and I want to work on good form and technique, these are way better than these because this gives me better feedback with the ground. However, I don't want to smash and destroy myself every day with these. And so sometimes it's nice to have something help me to kind of cushion the exercise for the day. But I can't urge you strongly enough to look into some shoes because so many people are hurting out there. So many people are in pain through the hips and the knees and so forth. And these are Ultra shoes. This is the Escalante version. And I actually think that this shoe right here might be the best walking, running, training shoe that there is on the market. And for the looks of it, I really like the way that it looks as well. Let's see, I got another shoe in here somewhere. Oh. I've actually just recently bought like 10 pairs of these, and the reason is they aren't all for myself. I'm like shipping them out to people that I know and care about, that I want to see have some improvements with their feet. And you know, again, we talk about that toe splay, how important it is for the toes to be able to move around. When I stuff my foot into here, luckily Nike made this with like a mesh netting here, so I will be able to toe splay a bit, but that will be compromised. But sometimes when we're doing certain things, sometimes we have some compromises. Just like when I lifted those big boy weights years ago, sometimes to do a heavy deadlift, sometimes to do a heavy squat, there were some compromises. In fact, there were so many compromises, I still live with a lot of those compromises today. So it's you take the good with the bad a little bit sometimes, and sometimes you take the bad with the good. So kaboom, that guy's on there. I'd also say if you are a heavy person, you know who you are out there. If you're a heavier person, these are really great shoes for you. The one of the big negatives to these shoes though is you can roll your ankle on them because you're pretty high up and they're a little like squishy in terms of like your balance. So in terms of balance, I don't know why they made them that way, but you know, I think Nike has shit figured out pretty decently. They're getting dirty, these shoes. Just stepped in a big old thing of mud yesterday. I don't know. It's like a sinkhole. It's crazy. Craziness. Tie these guys up. This ball right here, I've been using this on my hip. I lay on the ground, stick this guy right on the side there. And I've had hip pain since probably, I think 2008. So whatever the math is on that, you know, 14, 15 years of pain in my hip. And guess what? I freed that shit up. There's still some pain in there, so I still have work to do in some other spots and other areas. If you would like to get yourself out of pain, I'm going to give you 2 suggestions. Number 1 is go to the Functional Patterns website and sign up for the 10-week, I think it's a 10-week course, and they teach you how to do all the myofascial release. If you don't want to do that and you hate functional patterns or whatever, you think all that kind of stuff's bullshit, then please just listen to me on taking something like this. There's many different objects like this. You can go over to roguefitness.com, or I got this one in particular off a website. The name will come to me in a second. But if you squish this thing open, let's see, it's actually kind of hard. Oh, this is called Neboso. Neboso is the company that has this, and normally you would do this with your heel, but because I put these big old shoes on, it's coming, it's coming. You crack that guy open, and we can use this to dome the foot. So we put it down like that, and you just stand on it, and it will dome the foot, and you can hit whatever pressure points that you need to on your foot. You'd be shocked how much pain is locked into your feet. And then it's got this little guy. Good luck with this one. This thing hurts. And you can even use this for myofascial release on your hands. You rub out some of the little things in your hand, and again, you would be surprised at how much crap is kind of locked up in your hands and in your feet. So this guy is an amazing recovery tool, and I blasted a lot of pain out of my hip. I wasn't able to get hardly, and I didn't even really know how compromised it was until I freed it up. This is how compromised it is. My brain still thinks that it's hurt, so my brain won't let my leg go back behind me too much. So I keep like a short, that's why my walk is so short and why my run is so short. It's almost like my legs are tied together. It's because I had so much pain in this hip, and I didn't really realize it extended, wrapped around the hip and went all the way into the glute. And so I've been rubbing on that thing every day. You only have to do so for about 2 to 4 minutes, but you have to do it very, very often. So 2 to 4 minutes, multiple times a day, and it freed up the hip. And now when I'm walking, like there's stiffness and tightness in there, but there's no more pain in there. Just kind of make sure. Yeah, they feel, both sides now feel the same, and I can actually flex the glute on this other side. So now when I go to run, I got more freedom. I think this is some of the confusion in the fitness industry of why so many people will say stuff like, they'll say stretching, as I'm trying to reach for my own foot here. They'll say stretching doesn't do anything, or mobility, where you hear people kind of make claims like that. They say stuff like that. I think the truth is that stretching is great if you have certain types of access to certain lengths of muscle tissues, ligaments, and tendons. But when you don't have good access to that, stretching is, I don't think it's the first place to start. I think some mild stretching, utilize like some active stretching, where you're doing something and then maybe you resist against it, PNF type stuff. But I think that myofascial release is the place to start, because once you get that area to not have a knot in it anymore, that was your biggest problem in the first place. Now you can get nutrients to flow through there. Now you can get better circulation to that area. And now when you go to actually stretch that area, you'll actually have some benefit and some access to getting into a position that actually allows the area to stretch in the first place. Because when your body is knotted up, and there's no scientific proof of this, by the way, but this is just an assumption of mine, when your tissues should be in the body like this. They should be laid down like this, and they should be able to react to stuff very easily and contract and relax and do whatever it needs to do. But what happens to us is like our shit gets all mangled up. You end up with an injury or a slight pull, and things get all bunched up and bound up. Well, now we're taking that thing that's all bunched up and bound up, and we're trying to stretch it, but it's like, no, there's shit clogged up, like it won't work. And so it actually causes a lot more pain. Think about this for a moment. If you were to tear a muscle in your calf, what would be the last thing that you would want to do? Probably the last thing you would want to do is stretch that area, because it would not feel good. Well, why is that? Well, it's because the tissue is really compromised. I think the same thing can be argued when we have a knot, even though we still don't really know what that is. When you have a knot and you go to stretch that area, everything's all mangled up and compressed. When we get that to release, now if we want to stretch, we can get things to stretch, right? See what I'm saying? All right, time to run.